Why is Jack Smith, Chris, there today?
Well, it's common practice for a special counsel to testify before Congress after they complete their work. In this case, though, Jack Smith's work has been largely buried. He was never allowed to go to court. His part of his investigation has never been made public, dealing with the classified documents case against Trump. He testified in private last month, and now he's getting the chance to come before the public. And it's a really fascinating insight into how his investigation unfolded. And for him, it's really the first time that he's able to come and present himself publicly. There's been a lot of questions about, who this person is, and nobody's ever even really heard him speak publicly before.
And what's interesting, this comes after the 8 hours he spent in early December, behind closed doors, talking to this committee. That full transcript and video was released New Year's Eve, right? And there was a lot going on in this world. Is there anything, though, that we gleaned from that is helpful in kind of understanding what Jack Smith might ultimately share with not just the committee, but the public at large here?
Well, the private deposition and today's public hearing is kind of it's a split screen. It's kind of a window into two different worlds. Republicans want to really focus on the process by which Smith, carried out his work, and Democrats want to focus on the findings. And so a lot of what Smith is, stating is material that he put into his indictments. And so there's not a lot that's new there. But Republicans are really kind of seizing on some of the more controversial steps that Smith took, such as getting phone records from members of Congress. And we hadn't really heard a lot about that until now, where Republicans are questioning, why Smith would have gotten phone records from members of Congress. And it's really given Smith the ability to explain that he didn't want to go get phone records, but Trump made phone calls to these people. And so as part of the investigation, he needed to get the phone records. And he was able to clarify that these were just records that indicated who called who and for what period of time, but there was no content involved. And Smith said that he followed the law at all steps.
Chris, in an environment where we are sometimes often talking about moves being political, and some would say that it applies to every party that's out there in different administrations, maybe to different degrees. You mentioned the Republicans are focusing on the process here, Democrats on the findings. I would argue that both are important, right? In an environment where we want a Department of Justice to not be political and to really pursue matters in the best interests of Americans.
Absolutely. And Smith is repeating that he believes everything he did was justified and following DOJ, policy, following well-established rules. Republicans are trying to damage him by making, some statements about how he acted in terms of trying to get things to trial faster than might have been normal because the election was coming up. And so, you kind of have these two sides battling back and forth over the findings.
Just in the last minute we have with you, Chris, the final outcome here, how does this end? What does it ultimately mean for the president, and what does it ultimately mean for Jack Smith?
Well, it's interesting because one of the things that, Smith, made a point of, there's been a campaign of retribution that has been carried out by the Trump administration against people who worked on his team. A lot of people at the Justice Department who touched the special counsel investigation were fired. And he said that, it's wrong for Trump to go forward with retribution against people who were just doing their jobs. And right as he was testifying, Trump put out a Truth Social post that actually asked the attorney general to go get revenge against Smith and his people.